the public square brings its own dynamic into the process. And I'll emphasize how this plays out in the climate issue, but there are two other areas where I'll come back to it. And one is the issue of eugenics and immigration and Lysenkoism and agronomy, where you had, again, science in the public square. There are lots of reasons why scientists, for publicity and other things, might want to bring their field into the public square. But in the cases I'll describe, these are cases where it was the political agendas that found it useful to employ science. And this immediately involves a distortion of science at a very basic level. Namely, science becomes a source of authority rather than a mode of inquiry. And the real utility of science stems from the latter. The political utility stems from the former. And it's a really profound distinction. For science to be politically useful, there appear to be several requirements. And this I listed in the paper on eugenics and global warming. You need powerful advocacy groups claiming to represent both science and the public in the name of morality and superior wisdom. And with global warming, it's the environmental movement. You need simplistic, by the way, I should mention at the beginning of the 20th century, the counterpart of the environmental movement was eugenics. All the best people displayed their virtue by supporting that. You also needed simplistic depictions of the underlying science so as to facilitate widespread, and I put in quotes, understanding. And this is a very serious issue, and I'll come back to it. You need events, real or contrived, interpreted in such a manner as to promote a sense of urgency in the public at large, which is necessary to promote the agenda. So, with eugenics, it was a contrived issue. The issue was immigration. That was the publicly important issue. The event was, in World War I, the intelligence tests given to the draftees demonstrating that there was an epidemic of feeble-mindedness that was attributed to immigrants from Southern and Eastern Europe. And so there was a need for immigration restriction. Scientists, flattered by public attention, including financial support, and deferent to political will and popular assessment of virtue, are essential to the process. And of course, there will be significant numbers of scientists eager to produce the science demanded by the public. So you invert the whole process of inquiry. These conditions are not independent, and they interact in important ways. So, for instance, the media thrive on scare stories. This is an old cartoon. It's cute. The networks need a lead story to scare everyone. Whose turn is it to pick a noun? And then global warming, whatever you need. Scientists can benefit without committing themselves. This is an old cartoon I generated maybe 10 years ago. Called it The Sad Tale of the Iron Triangle and the Iron Rice Bowl. Scientists make meaningless and ambiguous statements. The advocates and media translate statements into alarmist declarations. The politicians respond to alarm by feeding scientists more money, and the whole thing goes on and on and on. Okay, scientists far from climate are encouraged to get a piece of the action. Somebody listed this as, collect $200, pass, go. Here are some examples I loved, and if you're an academic, you realize these sums are sizable. Psychology, quote, climate change, this is part of the abstract for the proposal that got funded. Climate change represents a moral challenge to humanity and one that elicits high level of emotion. This project examines how emotions and morality influence how people send and receive messages about climate change, and does so with an eye to developing concrete and doable strategies for positive change. That got 200K. And it's part of NSF's big mobilization. They're spending quite a lot of money to find out why people aren't buying the alarm. And this harkens back to my personal attitude. Ordinary people have sense. Academics don't. Political